Hello, 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 and welcome or welcome back. I'm Shakia, and in this episode, we are going to talk about Brian and Danna from Montana. Is Brian sending mixed messages? Okay, so episodes 1 through 4, we see Brian and Danna getting along. They're vibing. They share a kiss, they share some laughs, they share some wine together, and they share a bed night one. Danna says nothing happened and never went beyond kissing. Brian, the next morning, he comes to bring Danna some breakfast, but Danna is still sleeping. They have lunch together. They go out on an awesome date. Danna is sitting in his lap. They do a little more kissing. They share some more laughs. They share some more conversation. Fast forward to episode 5. We see Danna getting ready for her date with Brian. They're having a date night. And Danna says to Brian, "Ooh, which do you prefer? Lashes or no lashes?" And Brian says, "Oh, let me see." And he says, "This one." And he chose the side that didn't have any lashes. And he says, in his confessional, I really prefer her without all the gear, without all the extra gear. And so Danna says, "Well, oh, that's a surprise. I thought you were going to say whatever you like." And she said, "But, good to know. You're being honest. Good to know." And they head out to the restaurant. Danna orders a steak. Brian is excited that she's gonna eat this steak and that she's gonna finish this steak. And in the confessional, he says he likes her appetite. Okay, they are still at the restaurant. They are having conversation with each other. As the viewer, it seems as if they are enjoying conversation with each other. All this time, it seemed as if Brian was enjoying his time with Danna from Montana. Now, Brian asked Danna something about her social life or something about when she started going out. Danna says that she didn't start drinking alcohol until she was well into her 20s. And Brian says, "Wow, you must have a healthy liver." They share another laugh together. Then Danna says, "Yeah, something to the effect of people can't believe that I'm 38."
Everyone's like, "You don't look like you're 38." I'm like, "Obviously I don't think
You are not.
Yeah.
I don't believe it.
100%.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I do know.
I mean, I was a bit dismayed.
This is when Mr. Brian changed. This is when we see the change happen. We see the shift happen. And it's like his mind is computing 38, 38, 38. Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. And Brian in the confessional, he says, "Look, let's be realistic. If Danna is 38 now and we date for 2 or 3 years, by the time we decide to have children, she'll be 41. I don't know if that's realistic." Okay, I understand that, Brian. That's a question that as you all get to know each other, this is a topic, excuse me, that as you all get to know each other, you can bring up again to Danna and discuss what options you all have and where both of you are. He says up until this point, they hadn't talked about age. He did not know she was 38. And so for him to hear that she was 38, I think he was really taken aback by that. So in my mind, as the viewer, that was strike one for Danna. Fast forward, Brian brings Danna to his farm. He says, "Look, if a person is going to be with me, they're going to need to be a part of this life. They need to understand some things." And so he says, "I'm going to put her on cleanup duty. Danna is going to have to clean up some poop." And Danna is like, "This is gross." She's like, "This is nasty." And I don't blame her because it is gross. I don't work on a farm. In theory, it sounds wonderful and beautiful, but I don't work on a farm and I don't want to clean up poop. So I'm with you, Danna. I'm with you. But nonetheless, she gave it a try. And he's like, "Oh, make sure you don't get it on their feet." Haha. And Danna's like, "Does it matter? Because they're already eating the poop. I don't think it matters if it gets on the feet on their feet." And she was just like, "Oh, a little afraid of the chickens." And she's like, I don't really like this particular animal. Like, they freak me out. I don't really like it. So she wasn't feeling it, but nonetheless, in my mind, she was doing her best to be a good sport. Brian, he was like, no, she insulted my chickens. She insulted my business. And he says, this is how I make my money. This is how I provide and I take care of myself. And this is how I will provide for my family. So I don't want her to not, like what it is that we're doing here on the farm. He was upset. Danna made a comment, I think the comment about like, oh, this is nasty, oh, this is gross, and he didn't like it at all. And Danna said, well, I could touch cows, because he's like, oh, like pet it or whatever, the hen. And she says, I can pet cows, I can touch cows, that's fine. And then he kind of mocks her in the confessional. And he's like, I thought, and he tries to put on this American accent, and he's like, Danna from Montana. I thought she'd be fine on a farm. She said she would be fine on a farm. And so I think he was a little disappointed that she didn't react the way he thought she would react. And it seems as if he took it as an insult, some of the things that she was saying, which I do think she should have been a little bit more mindful about, maybe what she said and how she said it. But I also understand she also was a little bit taken aback. This wasn't in her element, maybe. Like she didn't want to clean up poo. She didn't want to clean up the poo. Let me know in the comments what you thought about that particular scene. And if Danna was out of line, if Brian was right to respond the way he responded. Now, in my mind, this was strike 2 for Danna. 1 was her age, and strike 2 was the fact was her behavior on this farm. And fast forward, Danna and Brian, they're having a conversation, and he says, I got to be honest with you. You're not somebody I would be physically attracted to. And he says, because she asked him like, well, how are you doing? And he goes like, I'm processing all of this. I'm processing. And he says, you're not the type of person that I would be physically attracted to. And I don't really know like where we stand. And Danna says, but I thought we were fine. I thought we were building something, like, I thought there was an attraction. And I'm like, yeah, Danna, so did we. And Danna says, we kissed, and she said, I had to stop myself. I had to leave the room because I didn't want to take it any further. Was that strike 3? Was that strike 3? Did that have anything to do with it? I don't know. But Danna says, I had to stop myself because I didn't want to take it further. And I thought you were into me. It seemed like you were into me. And he's like, no. And she's like, so we didn't have chemistry?
Wow.
I am very happy for what came through the door.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, could you see yourself in the Western Refuge in this crazy old town?
And he just shakes his head and he looks off. And I'm like, sir, you literally had this woman sitting on your lap. You were making out with her. You were laughing at her. You were staring into her eyes. And you want to tell me that you had no chemistry with her?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's difficult to feel. To feel, you really need to take a pause and check in.
Yeah.
I didn't give myself that space.
I feel blindsided right now. Like, I think back to every time he touched me and kissed me and held my hand, and was none of that real? Well, it seemed like we had chemistry the other morning, like when we were getting a little physical and had to like physically remove myself.
Yeah.
Just because I didn't want to have sex quite that early on.
I really believe I believe that him finding out that she's 38 freaked him out, and how she responded on the farm also freaked him. Like it caused pause for him. It gave him a reason to have pause. And I think it was those two things, and it could have been something else too. But based off of what we saw on the show, because that's what I'm doing this recap on, only what we saw on the show, that's it. Based off of what we saw on the show, that's what it seemed like. And so I'm like, dude, you're definitely sending her mixed messages. And if it is concerning her behavior on the farm or her age, then this is something that you do want to have a conversation with. it's challenging sometimes, I'll be honest, with this show and shows like this, because they are on a time limit, and so while they have a little bit of time to get to know one another, they do need to figure out where they stand, because when this experiment is over, one person is going to leave and go back to their home country, or to their country. And so it does feel like there is some pressure, but then I was thinking, not really, because if you decide to move forward, that's awesome. You still would have to figure it out anyway. But also, if you decide not to move forward, you don't have to, because you're going to go home. And so perhaps even by the time that their visas are up, if they haven't made a decision, they can still stay in contact with each other. They can try the long distance thing. That's what I'm getting at. It doesn't have to be like shut the door on this idea or on this person completely. But anyway, and let me know what you think about that, if that made any sense. Going back to Danna and Brian, what do you think about Brian's reaction to Danna when he found out her age, and also when he witnessed or observed her behavior on the farm? Do you think these two things played a factor, or were factors in his shift and mood? Because I thought they had chemistry. Do you think they had chemistry? I mean, Danna also thought they had chemistry. I really do think Brian is sending mixed messages. I think he got a little freaked out, and now he's backpedaling. Let me know what you think in the comments. What do you think about Danna and Brian, especially regarding episode 5? I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Thank you. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate you for being here. I want you to go out and have a courageous day and come back for the next one. But until then, bye for now.